y'all. We're pleased to welcome now Senator Bryce Wiggins, represents the Mississippi Senate District 52. Make sure you got your mic on there, Senator. I think you're on mute. Rhino, say anything? I think you can hear us, but we don't have any sound coming from you there, Senator. See if we can get him to call back in. So while we're getting the senator on the phone, just going to read to you folks. This was a post from the senator, occurred at 4:50 p.m. last evening. He says, all jurors deserve thanks and respect. They are the foundation of the best judicial system in the world, in parentheses, though not perfect. The @GOP, @Mississippi GOP leadership has a lot of soul searching to do. #convicted felon. So we wanted to get the senator on the show today to just discuss this particular post with him and see what perhaps his rationale was for making such a post and where he stands. I think Rhino's getting him set up for us right now on the telephone. So we're working through that. So let's see here. This was educators are pluralistic socialists on our ceasefire text line. Yeah, that's probably one way to put it. All right, Senator, we got you now?
Hey, Gerard, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I do. So while you guys were getting connected up there, I was just reading for our audience here of the post that you published last night on your social media account.
Yeah, I want to thank the Twitter sphere for raising my profile. I appreciate that. You know, it's I got a lot more followers now and things like that. So thank you.
So the first statement you made was just that jurors need to be thanked and respected. Well, certainly serving on a jury is a solemn duty and one that should be taken seriously. And it is, especially in a high-profile case like this. I know you've been in the courtroom quite a bit as an attorney. But
yeah, and I wanted to say that. Sorry, I wanted to say that because when I heard about the conviction, Twitter being what it is, people want to go after jurors. And I just think that that's not a really good thing. A jury is a tremendous hallmark of our democracy. I just wanted to say a couple things. Thomas Jefferson said, I consider trial by jury as the only anchor ever yet imagined by man by which government can be held to the principles of its constitution. So I was afraid that people were going to attack the jurors, and as somebody who is prosecuted, my last trial, I put a 16-year-old young boy in prison for the rest of his life for the murder of a grandfather. Those jurors don't ask to be there. They are summoned, just like they are here in Mississippi, and they deserve our respect. And so, yes, I was trying to, get out ahead of it before people started to attack the jurors. Everybody can say what they will, and I am right along with them about the legal part of it. There's appeals, all of that. But I think that the jurors deserve our respect and our honor. And we may not like the verdict, but as somebody who's been practicing law for 25 years and who advises clients on a regular basis, I can tell you there literally are no outcomes guaranteed in a criminal trial or even a civil trial. And so I was just standing up for the jurors.
Okay. You also made the statement, appreciate that, Senator, that the GOP, that would be the National Republican Party, and the Mississippi Republican Party leadership have a lot of soul-searching to do. What did you mean by that?
Well, so let me say this, and the chairman of the state party was on Paul Gallo this morning, and when I sent that out, he called me, and I appreciate Mike. I've known Mike a long time. I think he was an awesome U.S. attorney. I think he's going to do great where we are. Where he is leading the party. Let's just say in that particular moment, look, our president on a national level is decided by the Electoral College, correct?
Right.
And we know that our electoral votes in Mississippi are going to go to Donald Trump. It doesn't matter what happens in a courtroom in New York. Our electoral votes are going to Donald Trump. And so at the end of the day, what a presidential election comes down to is basically about 4 states. 4 states. And so now I don't like it. I feel sorry for all of us. And going into the general election, the party now has to get out in front and say we're supporting a convicted felon, whether you believe it was done right or not. I mean, I don't know. You know, it hurts me, and I shared this with Mike, with the chairman of the GOP,
Mike Hurst.
Mike Hurst.
Yep.
You know, I come across, and I have 2 kids who were in college at Ole Miss. I believe I have good conversations with a number of young people. My point with Mike was I want us to build a party for the future. And I have people express to me, out of 330 million people in the U.S., we have Joe Biden, and then now, unfortunately, we have somebody in the state of New York who is a convicted felon. Okay, hopefully that will be overturned, and we'll see. But those were some of the thoughts about that, and I do think that the state GOP, as I shared with Mike, we need to be looking for the future. It's about building the future for our party. Well,
when you say that, though, does the party say Mike Hurst, who serves as, of course, the chairman of the state GOP, do you see it as an incumbent upon him, and then look even further up the ladder there, up the org chart, into the national GOP? Are you basically saying they need to identify and develop new candidates or different candidates? Because the deal with Mr. Trump is the people spoke, and
they did.
He's their nominee.
Yep, they did. 100% respect that. And I talked to Mike about that, and the people have spoken. And that is a very good thing. We must respect the choice of the people. So I 100% agree with that. To your question about should the party, it is a party. The party gets to set the rules. So I don't know. I'm not in the party leadership, but no, I don't think that the state party can address it on a national level from that standpoint. But I guess the words I would use is, candidate recruitment. Love all the people, all the Republicans, all my colleagues. I think they're great folks. When you're building a team for the long term, who was like the New England Patriots or a team like that, you look for what's going to keep you going for the long run. And you want to attract the best and the brightest. And I look forward to attracting the best and the brightest.
But you could see, couldn't you, Senator, when you use this euphemism, I guess, of the leadership needs to be doing some soul search, and that could be perceived as you being highly critical of leadership and condemning them just on the surface. I think that's the way your post was viewed and perceived. I've heard that from people, so that's why we wanted to have you to come on and kind of explain what you meant by that. But you can see how they could construe it that way.
Yeah, sure. I can see that. And particularly when I talked to Mike, I said, yeah, Mike, I see that. And I told him that. I have no personal animosity towards him. But I do think that the state party, we can do better. We can do better in a lot of fronts. I've talked to the previous party chairman about that. And here's the thing, Gerard. I made my tweet. Now I'm on your show talking about what we can do to make the state party better. I mean, and that alone, I guess, is a benefit to this.
Okay.
So I'm about making the state party strong, conservative. And let me say this. I thought it was great when Mike Hurst was on the Gallo show and his comments were, yeah, we're going to work to shape the party. And he used Ronald Reagan, Lincoln, and Teddy Roosevelt. I said, that's awesome. I think that's great.
We got a break right now, Senator. Can you hang around? Continue the discussion?
Yep.
All right. We got Senator Bryce Wiggins on the line. We're in the Element Well studio. We're visiting with Senator Bryce Wiggins. So just to kind of wrap up the discussion of your statement about the GOP, the Mississippi GOP should do some soul searching. You may have meant it differently. I'll certainly give you the benefit of the doubt, but I think just as a person reading that on the surface, it appears that you're being critical of GOP leadership as opposed to imploring them to I guess just make sure that we continue to develop the party and unite the party and make it even stronger. And so maybe it was perceived differently than what you intended, but I think that's the way most people have interpreted it at this point.
Look, Gerard, I think that's a fair statement, okay? And we all know that Twitter and Facebook isn't the best place to lay out a dissertation and all of that.
Sure.
So, yeah, that happens. And so I will accept that. I will, and if there's responsibility to be had, I'll accept that. But I was thinking at the break, and I'm curious. So, what you said about the tweet part of it about the jurors, heard that everybody that I know agrees with that the jurors should be just on general basis appreciated for the service that they do. What I think people have gotten upset is the point that you're bringing up. But to that end, and this was probably on my mind, in certain publications, there have been certain Republican GOP, Mississippi GOP leaders, both elected and who carry the torch, who have gone after the legislature about being conservative. So why is it okay for them to do it and it's not okay for me? I don't understand that. It's been printed in op-eds. And so all I'm doing is saying I'm doing exactly what they said, which was, hey, and I'm thinking of one that said, hey, we got to get back to conservative principles in the legislature, despite all the successes that we've had, from record unemployment, from highest teacher pay raise, from the largest economic development in the history of the state, from dealing with all the things that we've been dealing with. And there are op-eds being written that the legislature is not conservative. So where's the outrage about them? And look, so that you know, and I appreciate Mike, I kind of brought that. I said, I don't know, the legislature's being said we're not conservative and nobody's getting on them. If you look at the record, both from a financial standpoint and from the let's call it the SAFER Act, we did that. I handled that bill. Seems like we're conservative. So I'm a little curious as to why my statement, and maybe it's because of what you're saying, which is that it was taken the wrong way, but there's other members out there who have written op-eds, gone public with, hey, this is what the Republican Party needs to be. So I'm just a little curious why we haven't heard, I guess, the pushback on that.
Well, okay, so I hear you. I would say a couple of things to that comes to mind. First, I think there's a difference, Senator, between someone who is paid essentially and in the business of writing and publishing and stating opinion and holding lawmakers accountable than someone who is an actual lawmaker, and in this case, an elected member of the state Senate and obviously a member of the party. I think that's just different, honestly. So our job in the media, for example, is to analyze and form opinion and to hold, again, elected officials accountable. To me, I think we'd be better served as a party if our party elected leaders would unify. And in this case, I think it means unifying behind a candidate. Now, during a primary, when there are multiple candidates, I think that's fine. You got a candidate, I got a candidate, other members of our legislature, they support different candidates. But once that's over and that's done, I just feel like it's in our best interest to all be behind the nominee, the candidate. And I think your post, with all due respect, Senator, it comes across as divisive as opposed to uniting. That's what I would say about it.
Well, look, I think that's a fair statement. You can say that. But, again, in terms of a president, Mississippi's not going to decide the presidential election in the general side of it. So our electoral votes are going to Donald Trump, which is how it's set up, that's great.
Well, that's true, Senator, but pardon me for interrupting, but you're a state senator, and you could see how the Democrat Party may learn about this and seize upon it and use that as leverage in swing states. I agree with you. Mississippi's going to cast its electoral votes for the Republican nominee. I think that's a done deal in the books. But in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, where it matters, I think it would be harmful if the Democrat Party says, hey, look, there's a prominent state senator in the state of Mississippi, deep red Mississippi, that's being critical of their nominee, and they use it to their benefit in those states where it does matter.
Well, Gerard, with all due respect, look, I appreciate you giving me that much credit. I don't think Mr. Pennsylvanian knows who Bryce Wiggins is or even cares. And if you talk about what can do damage, unfortunately, that's the conviction that came out yesterday. I understand your point, and I understand about unity, and I've done it myself. But I would ask you, so when we're going into the general election, and I hope it appeals, Donald Trump says he's going to appeal. That's the process. Unfortunately, I don't think the appeal is going to be decided before the general election. So as a Republican Party, the Democrats are going to hang convicted felons. So how do we address that?
Yeah, I agree. I know that. Well, how we address it, I think, is perhaps refraining from doing what you did, which was including hashtag convicted felon in your post. So you're sort of helping the Democrats by using the moniker that they're going to, I think, try to effectuate in the election.
Well, I understand your point. Thank you for thinking I have that much pull, to be quite honest, to change the election. But I appreciate that. I see your point. But also, I guess this is party. I also wonder about we talk about cancel culture and freedom of speech. So don't we have freedom of speech?
Sure, you're free to say whatever you want. I'm not suggesting that you are not. I'm just opining that in the best interest of the party, it would just be good to see everybody pulling the same sled. In this, it makes me even ask the question, Senator, do you intend to vote for Donald Trump as if he's the nominee, assuming he is going to be at this point?
Well, he is going to be the nominee, and there's no, I'm not going to vote for Biden.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not going to vote for Biden, that's for sure.
Okay.
So, I mean...
But you didn't answer affirmatively that you're going to vote for Mr. Trump if he's the nominee. I mean, it's not official yet, but he appears to be.
Well, yeah, your choices are write-in, and your choice. There's others on the ballot, too. But, look, there's a lot of things there. I know that I have to talk to my kids, and I think people have to look at their kids and say, explain this. So,
okay.
I'm glad that he's going to get the Republican vote. I'm sorry, the electoral votes. That's how our system works.
Right.
And so that the people have said that, and that's what they do. And I think that's how the system is designed. But your question really goes back to the party, and I want the party to be around for the long term. As I was explaining to somebody, my area has been Republican long before the rest of the state was Republican, and that's a fact. And so, I find the discussion a little bit interesting. But, look, we all need to be working towards having a unified front. But if I may say it, I know you're saying that, you're dividing the party. Well, I see some of that in the legislature. There's Republicans, like I said, the ones who elected officials who wrote op-eds who are calling out the legislature for, quote, not being conservative. Is that unifying the party?
Well, I think that I don't know exactly what op-ed you're talking about, so it's kind of hard for me to pass an opinion on that. But if there are viewpoints of members of the party on certain policy issues that differ from other members of the party, I mean, you guys have this discussion every day. You're in the Capitol with your own members of your own party where you disagree on certain matters. So I think for one to say this is my position on this particular policy and you may disagree with that, I think that's healthy in how the sausage is made. That's a little different than when we're talking about a candidate. I mean, we're talking about policy matters. We got a break right here. You can hang around, though. We can continue the discussion.
Yeah, because I think that's a very important point and a distinction, Gerard. Okay. I'm happy to discuss.
Okay, sure. We got Senator Bryce Wiggins. We're in the Element Well studio. Middays is coming right back. We're speaking with Senator Bryce Wiggins, who represents Mississippi Senate District 52. Just wanted to pass on that the president is now speaking. Press conference being held, looks like, at the White House. His main point is that it was irresponsible for former President Trump to say that the verdict was rigged. So, Senator Wiggins, we were just talking about your post and your use of this hashtag, which you point out, convicted felon. There's no doubt we're going to see the words convicted felon, I think, associated with the name President Trump just all over the place. I mean, it's going to be viral in everything the Democrats do. So it just feels like, sir, that it kind of behooves us as Republicans, with our goal being to defeat Democrats in the upcoming election, not to give them any assistance with that is the way, to me, that I perceive that in your post.
Okay, I see your point. I think we've established that it was perceived differently than how that was maybe intended.
Okay.
But I deal in facts, and I know that I don't like how the law was, but at the end of the day, that's a factual in the state of New York. It's fact. And I understand your point. And I think that it's well taken, but I go back to what I said earlier. I don't know that Bryce Wiggins is going to change or has that much influence to, if any, to be quite honest on that. And if people are mad about that, I don't think it's. I understand people being mad at me that somebody like myself put that out there.
Yeah.
Okay. But as we've said, I'm glad that this has led to the discussion about where we want to see the Republican Party in the state of Mississippi, and I guess nationally, but really in the state, go. And that's why I really appreciated when Mike Hurst, chairman, was on the Paul Gallo show. He was up front. He said, look, and I'm using his words, and I would encourage everybody to go listen to the Paul Gallo show on SuperTalk, where he was on there, and he said, look, there are people in the Republican Party who really like Donald Trump, and you got Republicans who don't. And that's his job to handle that and to figure that out. But that's when he's talked about Reagan and Teddy Roosevelt and Lincoln. And that's when he said before Paul that that's his vision, and I'm not putting words in his mouth, that that's the vision for the party. And I think that's great. I think that's great. And so we're having that discussion of where the party needs to go. And I'm telling you, when I walk around for the future, I talk to young people. After this happened, right before I came on your show, I talked to, and I say young people, I mean voters. And they like Reagan. They like Lincoln. And the two choices of the major parties, they shake their head at.
Okay.
But I understand about uniting because I've done that myself. So I understand, and that's fair. I'm a big boy. I've been around the block.
Well, I certainly agree with you. I've heard the same. I mean, I don't think there's any secret about that some folks will say, well, yeah, this is kind of hard to believe. This is what we have of all the $330 million. I've heard those same comments, but it is what it is, as they say, and he is the presumptive nominee at this point. I just believe it's in our best interest for him to win the election and be repositioned in the White House, that's better for our country and better for these people. While I understand maybe they want somebody different, Ronald Reagan ain't coming back, or Abraham Lincoln and Teddy Roosevelt. That's not going to happen. Mr. Trump's going to be the nominee. You acknowledge that as well, and I just think we got to get all our forces and all our assets and all our people behind him so that we can rid ourselves of this guy in that White House right now.
I understand, and so that it's clear, Gerard, Republican policy administration is what's best for this country, okay? And that's been proven, and since I've been in the legislature for the state of Mississippi, I went down the successes that we've had. Republican policy has been really good for the state, okay? That's what I want. Okay. I will say this, though. Character matters. Character matters. Okay. And we need, in the party, I'm sorry, the Republican Party, we need people of high character. Again, we are all fallible. The Lord Jesus Christ, my Savior, saved my soul. Okay. We are broken beings.
Okay. Well, I want to be clear as well that we've praised the successes of the party in the state. I don't think there's any dispute over that. But we obviously, I think you would agree, we got a lot of work to do. We can do a lot better. We have way more potential, and we got to keep working towards that. So I think when folks such as myself, who is essentially in this chair to offer opinion and analyze, is what they told me, that when we see things that we disagree with coming from the party, that we're going to call attention to that, and we're going to talk about that. That doesn't mean, however, when it comes to whoever's running as a Republican versus a Democrat, my choice is Republican and Democrat, that, this guy's not conservative enough for me, so or lady, he's not conservative enough for me, therefore I'm not going to support him. And I feel like that's sort of what your post projected, and that may not have been your intent, but I just like to see us all pick up an oar and paddle the boat in the same direction at this point. I think that's where we are.
Well, I think that's fair. I guess, and I know it gets a little, I guess esoteric is the word, but I think it's a little bit different because it's, like I've said, it's about the selection of the president by our Constitution, which is the Electoral College, and that's in essence comes down to basically four states.
Yeah, and I agree with that.
So, and Mississippi is not a swing state, and that's fine.
And I know you discount yourself, though, Senator. I got to tell you, I share stories on this program just yesterday, all the time, that come from the state level. I had one from a state senator in California yesterday. Played a clip of her. I'm telling you, stuff like this, because of this great thing we have called the Internet, it's instant dissemination of information. And while I know you maybe didn't think about that, it wouldn't shock me if I didn't see your post included in ads from the Democrat Party. You're a state senator. You're a public figure, sir, like it or not. I mean, you're elected to public office. You ran for Congress.
Fair enough, but I don't think anybody in Pennsylvania knows or cares who Bryce Wiggins is. If I saw that from, the tables were turned, I wouldn't see that. But to your point, you say that, and I appreciate the conversation. But, Gerard, we did in the legislature this session, I personally was the lead author on the bill that raised all the salaries for our state highway patrol and also for our sheriffs. They got an extra supplement because of the bill that I authored.
Nobody is arguing with any of that, though, Senator. And by the way, that won't make it into the narrative if the Democrats choose to use your post to their benefit in the election. They won't talk about how this senator championed this pay raise for Highway Patrol. They'll say, forget his name's Bryce Wiggins. You're right. They won't remember that any more than I remember the California senator whose tape I played yesterday. But what I remember is it was a Democrat California senator that said, I'm having a hard time being a Democrat, is what basically she was saying, based on the policies they're supporting. And that's what they'll say here. They'll say this state senator, a Republican in a deep red state, is essentially condemning their presidential nominee, Mr. Trump. Even he sees through it. That's my fear.
I hear you. I don't control them. I answer to my God, to my family. I spoke at the Ocean Springs Chamber the other day. I said how much I appreciate people allowing me to represent them. I think that we've made some great strides of conservative policy. And as you know, Gerard, politics is messy these days. I will say I think people are a little bit frustrated, and I guess I would put myself in that category like other people. Is you send out one tweet and that's what gets me on the show, and you spend 4 months in the legislature doing policy that literally is going to benefit our children, and the various media
I hear
talk
you.
about it.
I hear you, Senator. We had a saying in my 33 years of running a business, and it was, "What have you done for me lately?" And that's just the way people are. You know that. I mean, and so
I know, and so I appreciate you allowing me to come on and talk about it. And it's my hope that we can get the Republican Party. We can continue the strides, and I do think Mike Hurst.
We got to go.
I appreciate his call yesterday, and I think he's going to do a good job of leading us in that direction.
We got to go, and I want you to know, you're welcome anytime. You're welcome anytime. So appreciate it, Senator. Thanks.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Coming right back in the Element Well studio.